In the next few minutes, we are going to talk about Jay Leno and what he has said and the remarks that are getting him kudos from people on the left, and people are angry on the people on the right. And I want you to know I have a very different opinion of Jay Leno than my counterparts here on the show. I think Stu is cool. Pat is very upset. He's not going to be able to sleep at night. I
don't think I'd go that far, but
he wants the.
I want him arrested.
He wants the megalodon, the fake shark, to eat him.
Mm-hmm. But there's a chance that could happen too, because he's still roaming the waters.
But I have
just off the coast of California.
I have a couple of things here to say about Jay Leno that I think are important to understand where he's coming from and what he really said and who he is. Who he's with. I think it's also important to point out that Jay Leno is a guy who has been one of the only non-agonizing people on television in the last 8 years. That's true. He just ever since he's been on television, he has handled himself with grace. He has handled himself like a gentleman.
Yep. He's been kicked around like crazy.
Yeah, and I would also remind you that Jay Leno is a guy who I was on the show with. And the show tried to sandbag me, and he didn't. The writers wrote stuff into the monologue, if you remember, while I was there. Whoa, it sounds like we have some boos here. And it was a standing ovation, which I don't think they showed.
There was not a single boo in the audience.
No, not one.
And we were there. I was in the audience.
Yeah.
And
not a single boo.
Not one.
And I got three standing ovations, did I not?
Yeah, I think
one when I walked off. One at the commercial break, and one when I walked in, one at the commercial break, and one when I left. And they never showed that. They never anything. And the writers had written in his monologue prior to. I mean, we watched it on the teleprompter. Oh, we got some boos here. It looks like he's very divisive. Well, no, that's not what was happening. Before we went on the air, we were there to talk about Christmas and the Christmas sweater. And it was like a year and a half after I had said something about the president and being, racist and white culture, which is from his own book, The White Culture.
Never seen that reported by anyone, by the way. Never seen that reported.
But they're never going to. So,
of course not.
Anyway, we had an agreement. We are going to do the Christmas thing, and that's all we're doing. We're going to make this fun and light, and that's all we're doing. We're not going to talk about politics.
To that whole stupid incident.
Right, and we don't want to go back to anything. We just don't want to talk about politics. This is going to be about Christmas, period. And that's the only reason why we flew out. And I flew out to Los Angeles. And we get there, and it's a pretty cool thing when you get backstage to the Tonight Show. It's really neat. We walked on Johnny Carson's set afterwards, and it's really kind of a neat thing. And the producer that was doing our segment was the only conservative in the building, and he's no longer there. He was the only conservative, and he's the guy that negotiated the whole thing. So I get there, and I was told by my PR person, this guy's really gone out of his way, and this guy's been under the gun, but he's leaving, and so he's been really strong on it. And so we talked to him, and he came in, and he's like, they're changing things. I want you to know. And I said, well, we're not going to do it. And he said, the executive producer's coming in. So the executive producer came in and said, listen, we've got to talk about these things. And I said, well, no, that wasn't our agreement. And if you guys are so dishonorable that you're going to change it, and they were loading the audience in, if you're going to change it at the last minute, I'm sorry. I keep my word. If you don't, that's fine. And he said, well, wait. We'll come back. So then he comes back with Jay, and Jay walks in. He's like, Glenn, listen. And we're standing in the dressing room. Glenn, listen. We have to do it. And I said, no, I don't think that was the agreement, but I appreciate it. Jay, it's been nice to meet you. Guys, let's go. And we all picked up our stuff, and everybody knew that I was dead serious.
Yeah, we were heading out.
I said, call the pilots. Getting back on the plane, going back to New York. Let's go. And we started to walk towards the door, and everybody went, well, okay, wait. And Jay said, yeah, my word, we're just going to talk about Christmas. I said, good. We get out, That's in the monologue. I'm watching the monologue go through the teleprompter, and I'm like, listen, look at that lie. Look at that lie.
Yeah, the writers are super, hugely liberal.
Yeah. And Jay is a guy who is trapped. He's living in Hollywood, trying to do this, trying to do the right thing. He believes in a different kind of late night television, which is, I think, the television that everybody wants. Nobody wants all of this political divisiveness.
Well, based on the fact he's been number one for 20 years.
Yeah, nobody wants it. He is right, and I believe he's a decent man. When we go into the commercial break and the crowd goes crazy, he reaches over and he puts his hand on my mic and on his mic, and he said, "You'd be surprised at how much we agree on." No, I wouldn't. It doesn't mean we vote for the same people. But I'm not who you think I am. And Jay, I don't think you are the guy that, because you live in Hollywood, that everybody says you are. That doesn't mean we vote the same, but we have common sense. So we leave, and we leave on good terms. Year later, I'm flying back to Hollywood for something. And my wife, it's my birthday, and I'm working, and my wife, unbeknownst to me, calls Jay and says, "Jay, Glenn really wanted to see your garage last time we were here, and we didn't have time. Do you mind? Could we just go see it?" And he's like, "Absolutely. In fact, I'll meet you there," which is not what she was asking for. And so he goes, and he spends... Were you with me, Stu?
Yeah, I was there. That was awesome.
Yeah. What, 2 hours he spent with us?
It was a good 2 hours.
Yeah. And so there were times when Jay and I were just walking around, kind of, the entourage and all the other guys that we're with. We're kind of walking behind, and Jay and I walked, and we just talked for a while. And it was one of the best conversations. I would love to have this on tape. And we just talked for a while. And he said, "Glenn, let me ask you something." He said, "What do you really think of Sarah Palin?" And I said, "I really think that she has some good ideas." And, we talked about Sarah Palin. And he said, "But I just don't understand it." And I said, "Well, not everybody does, and, whatever." And he said, "Why is it that when is it that we became a country to where we have to hate each other if we vote another way?" And I said, "I don't know, Jay. I don't know."
When half the country started voting for communists. That's when that line of demarcation began.
And he said, "Do you remember growing up?" He said, "We're not that different in age." He said, "Do you remember growing up?" He said, "We did business." I said, "Jay, my dad was a baker. We were, we had our own political viewpoint, and we were pariahs in our town because we believed that our town was dying, and we believed we could do the things that we needed to do, and people shunned us because of our viewpoint back then. But it wasn't on politics. It was, we believed that our town was in trouble and dying, and we were ringing the bell. And as it turned out, our town died because nobody would listen." Jeez, man, have I repeated my father's and my mother's life. And I said, but we never talked about, don't talk to them because they voted for this guy or that guy. We never heard that. Never. My grandparents were Democrats. And I just thought he was a good, decent man. And he was different outside of the studio. When he was in his car lot, he was different. Do you remember that, Stu?
He treated us very nicely.
Very well.
Out of his way over and over and over.
If I had $10 million to spend on Jay Leno, I would so spend that money or whatever it would take to lure him over. I mean, because I think what is he making, 15 a year?
Oh, geez, more than that.
More than that, I would think.
No, I think he reduced it, didn't he?
Well,
he to his people.
He gave some to his, but I think NBC's paying him like 30, 25.
And I think he reduced it to 15.
But he spread it out to his people.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I would so be willing. If I had that money, I would so be willing. He probably wouldn't do it, and I don't have the money, so it's a moot point. But I think even with what I've heard, even with what Pat's about to play, I'd still hire the guy because he's a good entertainer. Mm-hmm. He believes things that are different than I believe. But when did that become a bad thing? He has done his job exactly as his job should be done. My job is different than his. Everybody wants to do my job and have an opinion about the world. Most people are completely uninformed, And so they shouldn't be out broadcasting it. Pat's problem when he said, I thought he was smarter than this. I don't think that he knows all of the ins and outs of the arguments. And I think that is self-imposed. Jay is a very smart guy, but, I think he lives in this world as like, I don't want to be all about politics. And I'm with him. I don't either. But he is, because I saw it. He's a guy who's working at NBC in Hollywood, surrounded by Hollywood people. If he comes out and says, I kind of like some of the opinions on the president, but I'm a fiscal conservative, but I'm socially liberal. Are you kidding me? What's the problem with that? Except in Hollywood, he's a pariah because of that opinion. And I don't think all the people on the left that would treat him as a pariah because he happens to be a little more conservative than they are. I'm not going to be everything I despise and treat him like a pariah because he's a little more liberal than I am. If you're a fiscal conservative kind of guy, you can't be a big government guy. You just can't be because there's no way to do it. There's no way to do it.
By the way, Jay Leno was making $30 million and took a 50% pay cut to save staff members and is down to $15 million.
Now, you tell me you show me somebody else who lives like that.
That's tremendous.
Yeah. This guy is one of the best guys. We all look for people, and I don't care if we don't agree with each other politically. This guy is one of the best guys in all of celebritydom. You want to say the most influential. Oprah Winfrey is number one. I'm number 37. What is Jay Leno? Look that list up. What is Jay Leno? He should be number one. We are all looking for people we should be like. We should be like Jay Leno. Jay Leno is not discriminating against anybody. Jay Leno he's not jamming his opinion down and doing it slyly so you really think, he's one of us, go get him. He's not doing that. He's not being David Letterman, who I think is a really bad person. Jay Leno, everything about Jay Leno. I don't know if he's even a religious man. He may not even believe in God. I don't know. But look at how he treats people. Look how decent this guy is. Yeah. And he's the guy that NBC and Hollywood and the big corporations are running out of town. This guy should be on television for a long, long time. He's one of the only success stories on television.
It's interesting, too, that
they've done it twice to him.
Made the announcement they were getting rid of him after they said they were going to fire a bunch of his staff. And he said, no, I'll take a 50% pay cut, pay them with my salary. And then it was just a short time after that, it seems, that they made the announcement that they were going to put Fallon in the Tonight Show instead of him.
Yeah, they were using his pay.
Yeah,
they were using his pay. And you know what?
It's amazing.
Do you remember when I negotiated at CNN? The only thing I asked for, when I renegotiated, they wanted to renegotiate and redo my contract and hold me for another 2 years or 5 years or whatever it was. And the only thing I was asking for was a 10% raise across the board, not for me. Take my money and give a 10% raise to everybody on the staff. That was my condition. I'll sign, take 10%, take my raise, and put it all across the board and pay these people 10% more. Oh, no, you can't do that. Oh, no, then no. Then your people are paid more than others, and it will cause all kinds of problems. Well, you want to sign me, that's it. Pay these people who work for you but are doing my show, pay them more on my show. Don't pay me. Why can't I do it? Now, NBC allowed Jay Leno to do it, so he takes his salary and he spreads it across $15 million. Who does that? Good for him. As we're getting ready to, and I know that Pat doesn't hate Jay Leno or anything like that, but as we're getting ready to show you some stuff, I wanted to preface
I still like it. It's just really disappointing.
It is disappointing, but I really wanted to spend a few minutes prior to and say, this guy is a freak of nature in our society today.
Yeah.
He's a really, really good guy.
In the business.
Yeah, in Los Angeles, California.
No, in our business.
Yeah.
In our business. Anybody who does television, and I'm telling you straight up, people come here to work here, and I'll bet you they did the same thing with Jay Leno. They come to work here, and anybody who's been in television for more than 10 minutes, they come into this building, and they're like, you got to be kidding me. This is really, come on. Really? And they all want to work here because we're all decent to each other. Most people in television are monsters because of fame and money and everything else. They're just monsters. You don't want to be in this business. It's ugly. It's awful. And here's a guy who's been an island where, I mean, all of his producers, everybody else, NBC, breathing down his neck. You know they wanted him to do those things, and they despise him. And he does the right thing. I love Jay Leno.
No, by the way, I don't think he's on the 100 most powerful celebrities. Maybe that's because he's leaving. I don't know.
That's crazy.
Letterman's on there, but
that's
Leno
crazy.
isn't.
Look at the way they treat him all the way out long. Look at the way they treat him. This guy is as good as Johnny Carson. This guy has the same kind of character traits as Johnny Carson.
And NBC, for some reason, for whatever reason,
They've
has
always
treated
hated
him like dirt all the way along.
Like garbage.
It's
and
weird.
He is one of the most underrated guys. I wasn't for Jay Leno getting the Tonight Show gig.
I wasn't either.
I wanted David Letterman. I thought Jay Leno's not the future, blah, blah, blah. And he'll never be able to hold. He's just doing a Carson. Yeah, just doing a Carson knockoff thing. He's just not the guy. Boy, was I wrong. This guy has come into his own, and he's handled himself with class in a classless industry and a classless world. And I, for one, am really sorry to see Jay Leno go, even though he did an interview where he is saying things that you're just not going to agree with. But I have more to say when we get to those as well.